All right, guys. What do you know? Folks from Ability are late. Oh, wait! Man. Oh. You get less hot dogs. So, what do you say when Ryan and Kayla get here, we just don't let them in?
Doors locked.
Sorry, we're not on these. Would you still
Yes, that would be great.
Yeah.
The question is which one of these actually works. Okay, great. Nope, only one of them works. Okay. All right, guys. Isn't this exciting?
Woo!
Yeah! Yeah!
Let's go.
I didn't hear anything out of you, Julian.
Woo!
I can say, you know, as we were contemplating this, it was exciting to me to try and get, well, basically twice as many bodies in one room as what we have historically. So, obviously, we want to purposefully integrate everyone together, right? And so I hope you guys really take the opportunity to get to know each other because, well, this is how we're going to thrive together. So, which is kind of why I think, appropriately titled my talk, What I Did. Does anyone know, does this sound familiar to anybody except for Brian? Yeah, right? So We Stand Alone Together is the title of a documentary about a specific group in the Army during World War II. And these guys were paratroopers that essentially were all of history, kind of all the historical accounts about Easy Company basically calls them the best, if not, or one of the best regiments or companies in the Army during World War II. And it's not just simply because of how they were highly physically trained and the demands that were placed on them during their training, but also because of the camaraderie and the struggles that they suffered throughout that conflict, right? And so how many of you guys have not seen this show? Okay, so Dr. Julian, can you raise your hand? All right, so you guys can get at Dr. Julian. He'll give you his HBO password.
It's Chris Ability. Pay for it. It's social is.
But obviously, I highly recommend that you guys watch it. It's one of the best 10 hours that you'll spend watching a TV show. But one of the things that you learn, like in the very first episode, is that their CO, their commanding officer, is absolutely a stickler about everything. And to the point that, like, all the other guys during their training, all the other guys that were on the base, part of different companies, different regiments, etc., they would get a weekend pass to go into town and have fun, and their CO would find any reason to cancel their pass and make them keep training all weekend long, or whatever, do extra duty, running, classroom work, drills, whatever it could be. And when you watch the show, and this is a group of guys that, like, they had a motto, and their motto was Currahee. And Currahee is a mountain that's right next door, right adjacent to the base, that they would constantly run up and down this mountain as part of their PT. And this mountain was 3 miles. It was 3 miles to the top of the mountain, and 3 miles back down the mountain. And so a regular punishment for them was that they had to go run Currahee, right? And this could be at the end of the week when you're dog tired and you're ready to have a nice weekend off. No, your ass is running Currahee. And so, like I said, not only the physical challenges, but the point of if Brian got caught doing something that he wasn't supposed to do, or they fabricated something that he wasn't supposed to be doing, now I'm running because of what Brian did, right? Which ordinarily you would consider would tear a team apart, right? I would hate Brian for making me run. It did the complete opposite. It allowed their team to come together to the point where if Brian got punished, and let's say they sent him out on a run, I'm going to run with him. That's the kind of camaraderie that they had within their unit. And because of that, that produced the outcome that they are one of the finest trained units, arguably the best company to serve in World War II. So what happened? They were assigned all of the hardest stuff, right? The most dangerous, the most important missions. Guess who went first? Easy Company went first, right? They are absolutely the epitome of a team. And, you know, when you think about, I'm sure if you guys think back to some point in your history, whether it was in high school or in college or grad school, there are a group of those people that you are so in sync with, right? That even if you haven't seen them in 10 years, if you put yourself in a room with them, you are immediately back in sync with them. Does everyone have a group of people like that? That's what we have to develop, right? And I think that both teams have begun developing that, and now we just doubled the size of our company, right? So like I said, obviously, I'm excited about this. I think, you know, a lot of us are excited about it. And when I say that, and when I titled my talk, you know, we stand alone, I think we do stand alone, right? We talk about this a lot at Ability because what we do is so unique, not just apart from the medical community, but even apart from the people in our own industry, right? The problem is what happens when companies see a lot of success. A lot of success can breed complacency, right? And we couldn't have a quarterly meeting without a Simon Sinek video. So,
any participant in any industry can get lazy when there is little change in how that industry operates. And then when there's a sudden change to how the industry operates, everybody gets angry, panics, and points a finger. I'll give you an example. Okay? I'll give you two examples. Example number one. Taxi companies around the world hate Uber. Right? Now, here's the reality. The app that calls a car, not proprietary. You can call a taxi with an app, right? Paying with your phone, not proprietary. Any taxi can do that as well. The reason Uber is eating taxi companies for lunch is because it's a better product. And the taxi companies around the world could have a shitty product because you're the only game in town and we had no choice. And now you have a competitor, and instead of competing, you're getting angry. I would gladly take more cabs than call services if I got in the cab and he said hi and it was clean and I had a nice chat with him and he wasn't on the phone and he wasn't smoking and all of these things and I had some leg room. I gladly. It has nothing to do with the app. The pay mechanism has to do with the fact that Juno and Lyft are just better. It's just better experience, better product. That's why I take them. It costs $1 more. Whatever, I'll pay for it. It's not even a price thing. I have no idea if it's cheaper or more expensive. I actually never compared. The same goes for Starbucks, right? So there was a lot of people hate Starbucks because they put mom and pops out of business, right? The reality is the complete opposite. That when Starbucks moves into a neighborhood, mom and pops coffee shops actually do better for two reasons. One, Starbucks attracts more customers, so there's just more people. And the second reason is there is a groundswell of giving back to the local, and so more people go to the mom and pop, right? The ones that go out of business are the ones that refuse to compete. I'll give you a real life example. This goes back a few years. A real life example. I'm lactose intolerant, right? So I don't have milk in my coffee. And there was a time where it wasn't a foregone conclusion that every coffee shop had soy milk or almond milk or something. So I would always go into the mom and pop that was across the street from Starbucks, always go to the mom and pop, and I'd say, do you guys have any soy milk? And they go, nope. I go like, thank you, and I would walk out. Those went out of business because I went to Starbucks. He's right, I went to Starbucks. Now, had Starbucks moved in and they went across the street and said, let's see what Starbucks has, we should offer soy milk. Maybe it's time for us to replace this ripped couch that we've had for 15 years because it's really nice across there and it's really gross here. It's the ones who got angry and refused to compete that went out of business. I think retail's the same. Everybody's pointing fingers instead of saying, we've had it really good for a bunch of years. And the question is now, what is our competitor revealing about our own weaknesses that we can learn to improve? Because that's what competition does. Competition reveals your weaknesses to you. And when you had no competition, you didn't know where you were weak. This is the problem with being the best at anything. Because you don't know where your faults are, and then somebody undermines you because they can see your faults before you can.
So guys, I showed this clip. I think you guys know that we're constantly hungry, right? But I show this clip just as a reminder that the decisions we make and the things we implement directly affect someone's life, right? I think this is obviously one of the big points that I tried to hit home, with our education this week. And sorry, brain balancers, you guys, some of you know, but so like every week we have a different education topic or something that we talk about as a topic of interest all week long to all of our patients. And this week was all about brain balance, right? And so when we think about this, right, we can't think about this as just another, like, we're not selling magnesium, right, or fish oil. We're not selling coffee or iPhones, or we're not giving someone a ride, right? Like the things that we do, the interactions that we have with the people within our circle of influence have a direct opportunity to have their lives fundamentally changed and different as a result of that relationship that we develop and the things that we say and do with them. And so for us, when I started this, and obviously everyone knows, kind of the success that we've had, right? So I don't mean simply competing externally, right? Like we were talking to the doc from Ortho One the other day, and he says, like, who are your competitors? Does anyone really do what you do? I said, no, not really. So we have to reach within ourselves to find that competition, right? That competition with ourselves. So it is, I kind of go back, kind of like to the story of the buffalo, right? Like what we had talked about. And sorry, ability folks, but I'm going to tell the story again for all these guys that haven't heard the story of the buffalo. So when a storm comes across the plains, right, and you have a herd of cattle, the cattle run away from the rain, right? There's a humongous thunderstorm coming this way, and the cattle run this way. But if you have, but what does a buffalo do? A buffalo turns head into the storm and runs toward the storm, right? likening that to, right, if you're one of the cattle, all you're doing if you're running with the storm is you're prolonging your pain in the thunderstorm, right? You're going to be colder and wetter longer because you're running with the storm rather than against it, right? That's the difference. That's why our Be the Buffalo, that's why the bull, that's why all of that stuff that we have done this year has been along that line. So being the best and staying the best are two kind of totally different constructs, right? So, and I think I bring that up because I've seen the tendency to worry about our lives getting disrupted when one extra step on our own personal behalf would allow us to become the disruption rather than being disrupted. Does that make sense? So, I don't want us to become the mom and pop coffee shop, right? I think you guys see that there are other industries that are picking up the success of what it is that chiropractors do, what it is that Brain Balance does, and guys, if you don't know, Brain Balance was created by a chiropractor, right? We're playing for the same team. And so this is where we have to kind of get, we constantly talk about getting out of our own safe bubble where we can be blissfully ignorant, right? And start looking at where are our real limitations and where can we grow beyond this so that we can not only provide a superior product and a superior experience, but we can have a superior number of lives affected by what it is that we do. So, when we look at this, I was just having a discussion last night. There's a bill that's in the Ohio legislature right now that will give athletic trainers the ability to do manipulation, right? Just like, your family doctor could hypothetically go to a weekend seminar and learn manipulation as well. I mean, they're going to suck at it, right? And sorry, but if you do adjustments one time in a month, are you going to be as good as someone who does 100 in a day? No. And there's an even higher likelihood that you're going to get manipulated by that person, have a poor outcome, and then you'll never want to do it ever again. Right? And so for us, this comes back to every small, right? Like, Pam, how many people call you and it's a short conversation because they're ready to book an assessment?
Not that many.
Maybe 1 in 20?
Maybe.
So 5% of people, the other 95% are hesitant, right? And Audrey, I'll pose you the same question. Fair number of people that still have concerns, etc., about whatever it is, right? And so it makes everything that we do, right? It goes back to the whole like Starbucks, everything matters sort of concept, right? And so our willingness to execute and compete literally, relies upon us to execute on not just what we do, but I think internally to kind of abide by a set of principles. And I say that because this set of principles, and again, ability folks, this could be stuff you've seen before, are the things that can allow us to take our interactions and our the effect that we have as a team to the next level. So I'm going to give you guys a second to read all this. All right, is everybody through it? Who's scared? I know you're scared. Just being So, these principles are not unique. I didn't come up with them. These principles were created by a man by the name of Ray Dalio. And I know, again, a lot of you guys have heard of him. A lot of you have not. For those of you who have not, Ray Dalio is a guy that started a business in his apartment in the stock market, and in the hedge fund world. Literally started his business by himself in a one-room apartment and grew it to become the largest hedge fund in the world. And if you want to know what largest is, this is a business that manages $150 billion, right? And people that trust them, right, to not lose their money, right? And the way he was able to grow and scale this didn't just, well, let's put it this way. He started by getting the right people on the bus, right? Which is obviously the most important thing to begin with, right? So he sought the best and smartest people that he knew could provide what they needed. But the problem is that the best people all have their best way of doing things, right? And they could never agree. You know, if it would be like Brian and I arguing over everything, right? Which, but the whole point, but the whole point is that he had to create some guidelines, right? A set of principles with which everyone could work and be successful. And these are the top 3 from his enormous list of principles. But these are the 3 that are most applicable to us, right? So what better way, right, than if you're going to bring everyone on to set the ground rules from the beginning, right? So, Ray Balance, I'm sorry, we didn't discuss these before we got married. But if you feel like I'm a little bit of a tyrant and I'm a stickler about everything, it's because I'm simply working from the principle of being open-minded and transparent about what we need to do and why, right? I will say that, you know, one thing that Ray talks about is that the teams that he has had of people that cannot overcome these hurdles do not succeed, right? They become the mom and pop coffee shop that will survive until someone comes in and pushes them out, right? And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when someone figures out how to do something better than we do, right? So I don't think anyone in this room is ready to accept either death or worse, mediocrity, right? So I want you guys to really, next time you feel that desire to get angry, panic, or point your finger, that we remember these, okay? You know, most of what we do is counter to what everyone else does, right? You know, one of my favorite sayings when someone asks, you know, well, why'd you become a chiropractor? I said, well, you got to be a little bit of a rebel to become a chiropractor, right? You have to be willing to do the opposite of what 99% of other people are ready and willing to do. But I think one of our biggest benefits is our ability to empower people to take control of their own health and of their own life, and to have the autonomy to do it. All right. I think everything. You know, Katie, you may be the best person in the room to illustrate this, because everything in the medical community is circled around your sickness, or I should say, if you have a problem, you being the victim, and therefore having very few options. And typically that option is medication, right? Or surgery. And by the way, I'm the only person that does that, right? Rather than giving people the options, giving people the autonomy, the information with which to make a better and educated decision about their health, I think that's where we are uniquely positioned, right? And why we've continued to thrive is because we can give people that, not just give people the hope, also produce, right? But also, like I said, empower them, right? To know that they can actually make a difference based on their own volition, all right? And this is, we've used the term constantly about, take the gloves off, be passionate, tell people what it is that you really think and feel, right? How often have we had the conversation about, Audrey, you look like garbage. What is going on with you?
Hopefully not that.
Audrey, if you can't get it together, go in the back and work, or go home.
It's just a me problem.
Because that's how big of an impact, right? All the little things compound to make such a big deal. I think a meeting or two ago, I believe, where did Felicia go? There she is.
Here I am.
Felicia, I don't know, you publicly gave her kudos, right?
Go ahead, do it again.
So I remember Brian and I having a conversation after work one day about how the day before, I don't even remember what it was about, Brian got on Felicia about the schedule or something, and Felicia came in the next day and actually apologized and said, hey, I'm sorry, I got really defensive when we had this discussion yesterday, and I didn't see it in the moment, but as I reflected on it, I realized that I was wrong, and I made a mistake, and we can make this better, right? And that's huge, right? I mean, that's a huge thing to be able to get outside of yourself and realize when you make a mistake, right? Laura approached me the other day. Was that last week? When we were having on Bull Rito Day. And she approached me and she said, hey, thank you guys for challenging me to do things that I've never done before and I wasn't comfortable doing before. And I said, thank you for accepting it, right? And then what do you know, literally the next week, I'm at the meeting and like the following Friday, and Aaron says, Laura, you fucking crushed it today, right? That was last Friday, right?
Yes.
As we're talking about personal growth, and as obviously I've been at Brain Balance for the last time, I have to give Pam kudos. If you guys don't know Pam, wave your hand.
Yep, yep.
I just made the comment yesterday to Katie that praise doesn't come very easily, but we tasked Pam with a lot of additional work that she was not accustomed to doing, and Leah too.
I'm just sticking up for her.
But I can say that Pam has been incredibly successful in what we have asked her to do. Yeah. And
I cry a couple days. It's fine.
But
Are you sharing your story now, Sarah?
No, she said he makes everybody cry.
Oh, okay. Sarah might have shed a few tears before as well. But ultimately, again, I think one of the biggest reasons why Pam made such a humongous transformation is because she has seen how big of an impact all of those little things, what switching 3 words on a phone call can do, can make the difference between a child's life changing or not. All right. So kudos to Pam on a lot of growth in just a short period of time. In fact, she was just telling me this morning that she was hanging out with one of her friends earlier this week and told her that she needed to go to the Westerville office and go get adjusted. Right. And this is a gal. And again, Pam was kind of like freaked out a little bit on the day she got her first adjustment over at High Street. And is that an accurate representation?
Ask Dr. Michael.
Yes. But again, in a short period of time, guys, like, we have instilled the hope and confidence in her in what we do, that now she's comfortable when someone says that they've been having problems. She says, "Oh, you got to go here," and it's not even to go see Michael or Aaron or Cody or Ryan. It's to another group of doctors that she's never met before.
I don't even know who they are. Who's Westerville?
So that's huge. That's huge. So guys, when I look at this, this isn't about what we need to do. This is about who we need to be. Right? If you think about this from a different perspective, right? Like, if we think about these things as all things that we need to check off boxes for every single day, it will never ever happen. Right? This is the concept of these principles are a fundamental change in our consciousness. It's a fundamental change in our personality and who we are and how we listen and hear, and then obviously how we act, right? And I will say that throughout the course of time, since we've implemented, this sort of philosophy and this sort of strategy, I think these are values that we as a company can never and will never surrender, because they're just so incredibly important to our continued growth, right? It's like your stand is your brand sort of thing. And as we continue to grow, I think our vision continues to grow as well. Not only are we executing on our mission as chiropractors, but just since we had this, we had a meeting with a neurosurgeon this past week, and a guy who stood up here in front of all of us and said, "I don't know what chiropractic is." Right? At least he was completely honest and transparent with us that he doesn't know what he doesn't know. And I see so much of what we do as establishing an identity for chiropractic. Right? And I think there's an incredible value in that. I think it comes back, I put together this thing, and again, it's a Simon Sinek construct of having a just cause. And he articulated this in his book, and he says, "A just cause is about the future. It defines where we are going. It describes the world we hope to live in and will commit to help build." And he says, "It must be greater than the products we make and the services we offer. And our products and services are some of the things we use to advance our cause, but they are not themselves the cause." And so, when I wrote this last year, to lead society to a place of optimism, unsurpassed vitality, and the full expression of their human potential, I didn't know we would be sitting here together right now. I think it's only appropriate, right? I think that our missions are parallel missions, right? And I also know that when we were discussing this in May,
everyone else in the world was busy getting angry, panicking, and pointing fingers, and we were looking for a way forward, right? We were looking for ways to solidify our goal of honoring the body's innate ability to heal and regulate itself and to express the potential that you were born to express, right? I think that has strengthened, I think our ability to empower people to have the autonomy to regulate themselves and their own life and their health. I think that has strengthened so many relationships within our offices over the last 12 months and even longer. You know, I think it does come back to, you know, the principles and the things that we incontrovertibly stand for comprise our brand. It's what attracts people to us. You know what I mean? You know, every single office that we have is growing. And I had a meeting last night with a bunch of other chiropractors, and they're moping and groaning about all these other things, asking me like, how do you guys do it? You'll never know. You know, when I say all of our offices are growing, you know, when I was putting this together, I wrote, Westerville office due for a big breakout. And I didn't look at the numbers this week. I did see the chart of the numbers leading up to this week. But for those of you guys that don't know, Westerville saw 410 people this week. Which, to my knowledge, Chelsea, that's a world record for Westerville, right?
I don't know if it's a world record.
Now-
It is a world record this early in the year.
Okay.
Only did 414.
Oh, okay. All right. So it's a 2021 record.
Yes.
Awesome.
Which means they're seeing 470 at Christmas time.
Probably 5.
Great.
Right?
Hear that, guys?
So, you know, I don't think this will be the last breakout that we see for this year. You know, I can say that Brian is very, very close to sealing a deal on a place in Hilliard,
Woo.
which would be pretty darn awesome. So, come the next quarter, hopefully we're welcoming a new set of folks, right, into this room, which would be awesome. And the other thing that we're working on is expanding our brand to be a national brand and transitioning a clinic to becoming ours in North Carolina. Which means that we're gonna have an even larger group, hopefully, for this next quarterly meeting, which I think would be awesome. So, we cannot do this without you guys. And I want you guys to all see how big that vision is not just becoming, but is manifesting. So thank you guys, and I hopefully we can have some fun and everybody get to know each other and get in sync.